Welcome to Snowmobile Sessions Live on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms. It's the #1 destination to learn about snowmobiling, network with other sledders, and have an awesome time doing it. We'll meet other snowmobilers that share your passion and show your fan photos along the way. Snowmobile Sessions Live. Enjoy the ride.
This episode of Snowmobile Sessions Live is brought to you by Energy PowerSports. They're Oakville's full-line BRP dealer with sales and service to all BRP models and so much more. Energy PowerSports always has the fun in store with a wide selection of clothing, parts, and accessories for all your powersports passions. Make Energy PowerSports your source for Can-Am off-road, ATV, and side-by-sides. Can-Am on-road Riker and Spider, including the sporty F3S. Sea-Doo watercraft and Switch pontoon boats. And Alumacraft fishing boats powered by Mercury Marine. Put yourself on a Manitou pontoon or a Widescape stand-up snowmobile. Energy PowerSports is the home for Lynx and Ski-Doo snowmobiles for the entire family. Do you feel the energy? Energy PowerSports, 879 Cranberry Court, Oakville, Ontario, or online, energypowersports.ca. All right, and fan photos is going to be brought to you by Fast Track Snowmobile Traction Products. We'll get to that when we get to the fan photo portion. But right now, I want to introduce Pat Dubreuil.
Hey, Gary, how's it going?
Good, how you doing? We got a resounding audience fanfare there for you. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about who you are and kind of what you do in a nutshell.
What I do many things, but mostly my passion is power sports. I love snowmobiling and I love dual sport motorcycles. But I've been involved in organized snowmobiling since the early 90s, back with the original program when the government, put a lot of money into building the snowmobile, the OFSC that we know of today. So I was very instrumental in getting Dubreuilville on the map as being kind of the hub of the north. So we helped develop a trail to White River and a trail to Hornpain and a trail to Wawa and a trail to Chapleau. And amongst that, I basically ran and operated a motel and a restaurant, creating this very unique hub. Over the years, we used to do trade shows in the US, trade shows in Canada, and just encourage snowmobile lovers to just come out and enjoy the snow with the rest of us, and go out and take a tour with them, teach them how to do some powder and just a whole bunch of things, right? So I've been at this for quite a few years. I go out every year for at least 7 days with my dad. This has been a tradition for us. My dad's 81 years old and he's still going strong. I just hope I can ride like he can later on in life. That's was
awesome.
Vice president of the OFSC for a while. I was district governor. And now I'm kind of like just laying back with the local club in Dubreuilville, helping out and making sure that the trails stay nice and clean and up to date. And I just love to ride. So I'm very happy to be a guest on this show tonight. And hopefully we can share some of my knowledge with the rest of your viewers.
Oh, excellent. Now, so you're kind of like the mayor of Dubreuilville, are you?
The unofficial mayor, I guess, if I don't know if I can say it on live TV, but I've been around for many, many, many years, and I do live in Sudbury. My businesses are in Dubreuilville, so I trek out there every 2 weeks just to make sure that everything's going well and to get a few kilometers in the winter.
So for the people watching that maybe don't know where Dubreuilville is, whereabouts is it in relationship to Sudbury or Cochrane, Kirkland Lake, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so using the highway, it's 632 kilometers from Sudbury, door to door. But basically, if you know your geography, at the point of Lake Superior where you see Wawa, we're 72 kilometers from Wawa, so northwest. Basically, between White River and Wawa, you have to take Highway 519. It's a single road in. You got to take the same road out. But when it comes to snowmobiling into Dubreuilville, you can come in from 3 different directions.
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent. Let's see who we got in the chat here today. Lots of people coming on board right away. Wisco Sledhead said, "What's everyone? Looking forward to another awesome show. Hoping for some snowheads our way soon." Renegade X says, "Good evening." And Just Fly Low's in there. Corey Brock, he's moderating tonight again. He says, "Evening, fellas." Rob Overholt, "Good evening, everyone." Bobby O, Wisco Sledheads. Anthony and Palermo, of course. "What's up, guys? Hope you had a good first week of 2023. Greg Kelly says, "Well, lads, another Monday night with Gary and his friends." Dustin Ingram, he's coming in with a super chat. He's giving us $5, $4.99 American. $5. Cheers, boys. Let's go, he says. Uncle Buck's in there. Wisco Sledhead. Sudbury got any snow yet? Yes, they did. It's snowing. Throwing Sparks is there. Do you think it's snowing in Sudbury, Pat?
Oh, it is. I can look out my window. There's we've had a little bit of snow. It's getting there. They're working the trails, getting them ready. Same thing up north. First pass is down, so getting everything nice and packed in so that we can run the drag. So that's very important. A lot of people, they're antsy. They see the snow and they want to get out there, but you got to get a good base before you actually send the equipment out, so you don't get breakdowns, right? So
for sure. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's we've got a big lodge sessions planned at the Sportsman's Lodge coming up in February. So Jacob Massart, which you'll hear a name soon, Wisco Sledheads is coming. They've got 5 coming from the U.S. coming up to see us. So, it's going to be a wicked time.
Ownership, last couple of years at the Sportsman, the guy's doing a phenomenal job. He's hanging in there. Tough to buy into a business just when COVID hits. So it's good that you guys are supporting them.
Yeah, we're happy to be there. We've sold out the lodge and we're booking into the tower. So I think there's 31 counted so far. I don't think it's going to get any bigger. I think we got a good group, and I think pretty much everybody in the chat. Mike Gooley's, he's definitely in. And Neil Owen, you probably know Neil. He's coming up. So it's very cool.
All the way up to Dubreuilville and Wawa on your routes. Like, do you guys do a big loop?
Well, we can. How far is it by sled from Jim's place to Dubreuilville to the Magpie?
Well, it depends. If you head up towards Timmins and Cochrane up first, it'll be a 4-day ride, basically 3.5, 4-day ride, depending on how many clicks you put on per day.
Oh, I got you. So it's a backpacker adventure from there.
You have to. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. No, we won't be heading up that far because we're going to use that as a home base and ride from there. So we'll see. Maybe next year we'll talk about lodge sessions. That's cool.
I think it's also interesting, statistically. So I do a little bit of consulting for Destination Northern Ontario and for the OFSC. And one of the things a lot of people don't realize is that snowmobilers will pull the trailer for about 9 hours maximum before they'll tolerate taking a trailer on. So most snowmobilers will pull their sled until they get the snow or a 9-hour kind of radius. So for us, for marketing, like 85% of my clients at the Magpie Relay are Americans. So nice. I cater to people that are in Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin, right? So that catchment area brings them up I-75 through Sault Ste. Marie and into Wawa, into Dubreuilville and whatnot. And it's usually a 9-hour trek for them. We also get a lot of clients from Sarnia, Chatham, the London, Windsor area, because they'll also take on the US route and come to Northern Ontario. It's quite interesting.
That makes sense. And Wisco Sledheads and Massart were talking about crossing the border and staying somewhere there and then driving down to Sudbury. So guys, if you're thinking about doing that, maybe that's something you should make Dubreuilville your stop.
Oh, there's great staging stuff, Gary, right in Sault Ste. Marie. The Fairchild, you drop your sled, they'll let you park your trailer there for the week, and then you can start touring, right? So you can go back up towards Elliott Lake and make your way to Sudbury and then back down to Timmins and around the large corridor, Cochrane, Smooth Rock Cap, Hearst back to Dubreuilville. So right now, I've seen a couple of things going on the chat board is Halfway Haven, right? So we all know that Halfway Haven is going to be closed this winter. So there's no gas. and no lodging available. However, the OFSC has chosen to groom basically in all directions. So the Sioux Trailblazers are going to be grooming down to Halfway Haven. The Wawa crew is going to be grooming to Halfway Haven, and so will Chapel. So the trails will be open. You just got to bring some extra gas. And if it's properly groomed, you should be able to make it.
Cool. Hey, just one more thing. We got another super chat from Jacob Masser, 850, says he glad he won 3 auction items. Great cause and products. Here's a beer for you, Gary. I love it. And I got one of the prizes on right now. This isn't your prize, it's mine. But I got the Oni Sessions fan t-shirt on. And if you want to buy one, you can go to MUDBRATS.com and hit the shop tab up in the menu. And they're on there. You can get a hoodie or a t-shirt. And if you want something else, just email me. I'll make it happen for you. Yeah. That's no problem at all.
Some of the comments, some guys are traveling 17 hours up to Kirkland Lake and whatnot, and they're saying it's worth every penny. So I'm glad to hear that from your audience from Southern Ontario. That's real dedication. Kind of blows my 9 hours away. But it's in the end, if you're a true snowmobiler, you're going to ride to where the snow is, right? And right now we're off to a rocky start. There hasn't been that much precipitation out there, but the corridors up north are starting to open up. That's where the snow is. So we do encourage you to trailer up and then come and see us.
Yeah, for sure. And Anthony Palermo says he's from Windsor, so that's like Banana Belt. And there's so many people that tell him to go to Sault Ste. Marie for riding because it's beautiful up there. Same with Wawa. And that's the thing. He'd go through the U.S. right on up.
Trailer ride, right? So you can stage up right at Searchmont or right in Sault Ste. Marie. There's gas in Goulet, and you can make it all the way to Wawa. So it's very different riding. When you take off from Sault Ste. Marie, you're riding the Precambrian Shield. So we're mostly leveraging logging roads, which are really wide, and then you're getting this really hilly terrain. So it's very different. It's not flat and fast. It's hilly, curvy, and it can be tight, but mostly very, very smooth riding.
Nice. Well, that's the thing. We were chasing snow this coming weekend, and we're booked into Cochrane, and we ended up switching out. I see the comments like Denon, 4 hours, and then he's sledding from there no matter what, right? We decided to go to Quebec instead, and that's I seeing the pictures of I don't know whether he'll be on, Angelo D, if he'll be in the chat tonight or not, but he's been sharing some beautiful shots. So I'm really looking forward. It's kind of breaking my Quebec virginity for snowmobiling.
Yeah. Ontario has, just as good trails as Quebec. I think Quebec really kind of outdoes Ontario when it comes to the hospitality side and catering to the tourism. I think, we still have some work to do there on the Ontario side, but I think that our trails can be on par with some of the best stuff that there is available. We do have the product, we do have the snow, and we do have the destinations, right? And even that remoteness where you've got a lot of kilometers between each destination. It's also a lot of fun, when you can go 150 clicks and not hit one stop sign. Very different from riding Southern Ontario, running farmers fields and different things. You come up north and you're running the Crown Land, you're running logging roads. You're basically it's you and Mother Nature. It's a lot of fun.
That's right. Oh yeah. And I think that Cochrane's coming a long way in the hospitality end of things. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's new establishments being built. There's been a turnover in ownership, and people are really adopting the welcoming of the snowmobilers. They're setting up, proper coat racks and helmet racks and different things so that they're freeing up the tables. They're understanding that table turnover is their key to business, and catering to snowmobilers, is very, very important. Even at the gas stations, making sure that there's no lines cutting across that we can cut with our carbides and things like that, and just having snowmobile oil, all snowmobile types available and different things. People are very brand particular. So these are all things that you need to cater to the snowmobiler, so you make them feel welcome, so that they'll come back year after year. It's
true. Yeah. And that's the thing. You're not just for Dubreuilville. You are an ambassador in some sense of the word for all of Northern Ontario riding. Is that correct?
Because if you come to the north, I want people to get the same treatment. It doesn't matter where they go, right? In the end, we're building like a huge resort for snowmobiling across Northern Ontario. This is our backyard. This is an economic driver for these small communities, right? You're a snowmobiler, you're dropping $300 a day, right? You got food, lodging, gas, parts, clothing, different things. So it only makes sense that people would basically cater to the snowmobiler with hand and foot and a red carpet, because they're the best type of economic driver when it comes to helping the local economies.
That's true, right? Yeah. Well, and don't tell my wife about the $300 a day. It's only 40.
Put on that. It's good for during the summer.
Yes, that's my biggest fear. Is one day my wife will sell everything for what I told her I paid for it.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. Anthony's 5 hours from Sault Ste. Marie, so that's close, I think, right?
Yeah.
And you can get into some good riding up in that area. But
yeah,
that's really cool.
It's great. We benefit up north from that lake effect. We've got that big snowmaking machine, which is Lake Superior, and that basically just kind of hits everything going north from there. So you're getting that North Shore Lake effect, with Blind River, Spanish, and everyone along that corridor all the way to Sudbury. And then you get the same thing around Wawa. Wawa gets the double whammy because they got Wawa Lake, which is a huge lake, plus Lake Superior. You get tons of snow. And then, if you ride the trail between Searchmont and Wawa, that whole area where Halfway Haven is located, they get pelted because they got altitude, right? So they're up high in altitude, so the snow gets really cold up there, and the precipitation is even more so. They get more feet, more centimeters of snow every year.
Right on. Well, what would you say is the bucket list destination in Northern Ontario? Where are the good sites to see and attractions, landmarks, that kind of thing?
Well, honestly, there's a lot of really, really good stuff everywhere. Everyone has their little cachet of different little iconic things that I think that people should experience. You go to Cochrane if you like the fast runways under the power lines and stuff like that. That could be your thing. You're running a Mach Z or some high performance sled. If you're running, a crossover sled and you want to try to do a little bit of backcountry and stuff like that, you'll go up to BTB Canyon and challenge yourself. And then as you make your way west, there's a lot of really, really interesting stuff as you go through Kapuskasing and Smooth Rock Falls, and you end up in Hearst. I really think that Hearst is an underestimated area. A lot of people should be going there. There aren't that many people there. You'll get that experience. You're going to think you're in Quebec because there's a lot of French-speaking people in these communities. And their trails, to be honest, are probably some of the best up north. And then, if you're the adventurous type, you can actually go past Hornpain and make your way all the way to Long Lac. That trail is now open. There's gas available. That's for the adventure type, because you really got to know what you're doing. If you're breakdown, you're going to be pulling for quite a few clicks and stuff like that. And then if you want to basically loop around, you go from Hornpain down to Dubreuilville and then Wawa, and now you can make it all the way to Manitouwadge, right? So you can go from Dubreuilville to White River to Marathon to Manitouwadge. So the Marathon Club has taken over the trail system to Manitouwadge, and they're also grooming all the way to Dubreuilville. So we've taken that over. District 16 disappeared way back when, and Marathon is now part of District 13, and they're maintaining all these trails, and they're doing an excellent job. People in Wawa, they're grooming quite a bit of kilometers. And the OFSC has been pretty smart. We've standardized on piston bullies, so everybody in this area, whether it be Chapleau, Dubreuilville, Wawa, Marathon, we're all running piston bullies. Plus, we have a spare piston bully in White River. So if one of us breaks down, we have a spare unit. That means our trails are always pristine, right? So you can always count on that on the interactive trail guide to tell you, you know, if the trails are green in our area, they're green and they're pristine. You know, like I've seen where you guys put up yellow trails, I would have closed my trails. And then, you know, when we're doing green, we're doing super highways. So
I heard that.
Should basically follow the ITG.
Yeah, that's excellent. Someone said, Dan and Oosterman says, Hearst is exceptional. Talk about the hospitality and great riding. It's 10 out of 10. And big thanks to Nunzio for welcoming us last winter. Yeah. Nunzio's a great guy. Nunzio's in the chat too.
I rode with Nunzio and his wife last year. It was a blast. We had a hoot of a time. We've got some pictures that we're not even going to share because, you know, it might be embarrassing for a few people. I'm not going to say who. I'll let you guys think about it. But it was a lot of fun. You know, we did some powder riding and some off trail a little bit, and you know, we had an excellent time. And you know, we also took the guys from Snowmobiler TV, sled, the
Jeff Steenbachers and Richard Keyhole.
Yeah, we did the guys, and we basically rode from Hearst to Dubreuilville, and we filmed the segment and whatnot, and it was a lot of fun. You know, the guys commented that they had never put together an episode where they had actually clocked so many kilometers during an episode, because usually, you know, they're filming little segments. And because of our trails, because of the access and you know, the speed that you can travel on, even though you're supposed to go 50 clicks an hour, we all know kind of how it works.
You know, we were 51, 52.
Sure.
You know,
we were able to cover a lot of ground, and they just loved it.
Excellent. I really love the comment you made about making sure all the facilities stock the oil that you need, like the brand that you want. And that's really neat, because it probably people are getting up there with their new 850s and they're not realizing they're chugging through the oil like they could be, and they're out. So where do you go? Hopefully any gas station or any, you know, resort facility that sells that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting, you know, because you know, I drink the yellow Kool-Aid, but I basically tell people there's only so many oil manufacturers in the world, and the product that you actually, you know, put into your sled, it's TCW3, and basically what the manufacturers do is they color it for the different manufacturers, so that they're able to white label them and brand them for their sled. But in the end, you know, good oil, good synthetic oil, good semi-synthetic oil and whatnot, it's going to do wonders for your sled. So, you know, don't skimp out. Make sure you have the product. You know, in smaller communities in Northern Ontario, the dealer may not carry every brand or whatnot. But I always tell people, hey, you put another brand in your sled, you never know, it might just run a little bit better.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and if it's synthetic, it's synthetic. You know, you can't go wrong. So Bobby O says Highway Bar, Starvation Lake, Green Lantern Bar. Funny, Anthony Gaylord is getting less and less snow. I head to the UP now. It's Buckhorn and Pine Jack. So they're talking about U.S. destinations there.
Yeah. So the U.S., you know, I used to do the U.S. shows. We used to do Novi. We used to do Chicago. We used to do the Wisconsin show. And I've ridden up there. We have a lot of American friends. You know, this is the thing with snowmobiling. It's such a wonderful sport. You meet a lot of interesting people. And because we all have the same passion, you know, it's easy to build friendships, long-lasting friendships. But, you know, I used to basically convert Americans to come to Canada and tell them, you know, Canada is kind of like the UP without the whoops. And they just start laughing, you know, and they're like, what do you mean? I said, well, you know, in Canada, you can go a couple hours without meeting one single rider oncoming. And in the UP, you'll meet 300 within an hour, right? If you're heading to Gaylord or you're heading to Paradise, or, you know, some of those locations, just mega traffic, and the trails like this, because they don't have the cold nights that we do, and their trail doesn't set properly, right? So that's the thing in Northern Ontario. We get the cold nights, and most of the operators are running at night. So then that trail sets, and it has time to rebuild new memory, so that the next day when somebody's going through through the trail, you're not getting the same mogul at the exact same location where it was before. A lot of people don't understand that grooming is a science, and you need to basically get the groomer operator to take out the mogul at the base. You can't just fill on the other side, because you're going to get a crest of hard ice and a trough of soft. And our suspension is meant to basically push out all the time, so that when your suspension hits that trough of ice, it's going to release that energy where it's soft, and it's going to recreate that memory, right? So the only way you trail is to take out that ice trough and basically create a new one. And a lot of people don't understand that. So, grooming during the day is a bad idea. I'm totally against it. I've talked about this at the OFSC. I said we need to force our operators to run at night. It's safer. It builds a better product. It gives the trail a chance to basically, rebuild itself and go ahead. So there are certain clubs that adhere to this. Others don't. It's unfortunate. I'm a great believer in night grooming.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The key is it needs to set up. The guys that go on and rip up the fresh groom right behind or right after the groomer's on it, the trails aren't setting up, and you need it to freeze in a bit, and then it'll last longer too.
Yeah.
Right. That groom will last longer.
Yeah. When I was at the OFSC, I set up a training session for all of the operators in Northern Ontario. So I brought them to my resort. I'm lucky enough I own a resort. So I brought all the groomer guys, from our district to basically have a training session. So we had 6 different groomers, and we had an in-class session with Ian Auger from Ebert Welding. And he basically taught them, the science of snow and how to run a trail. And I had a guy in there, he'd been grooming for 27 years. He came up to me, he says, you know what? I've been doing it wrong for 27 years. I did not understand this whole concept of taking out the memory. He says, I was laying ribbons, and a lot of people go out there and they lay the ribbon. They look in the rear view mirror and they see this nice flat trail. They think they've just laid the best trail in the world. And if you haven't churned that ice and filled the troughs and taken out the peaks, you haven't really groomed the trail. And unfortunately, we have a lot of operators out there that aren't quite, knowledgeable about that. So the OFSC has adopted this program that we rolled out a little while back. I want to make sure that they keep at it, because that's the end product, so that you, the rider, don't really know when you're hitting a different trails, a different club's trails. It should be seamless. It's like you're running on the highway on the asphalt. You don't know if it's Miller Construction or Pioneer Construction. You don't know who's done the asphalt. It's all the same, right? Because they're building them with standards. And I think our trail system should be done the exact same way. Same signage, same trail grooming.
Should, right? It's almost like branding. So you know where you are, everything's consistent and, safe, really.
Nice. There's a couple of guys I'm noticing here on the site, they're talking about tech vests.
Yeah.
I wear a tech vest. I like to ride hard and fast. I like to ride up front, so I usually lead my group. I've had a few close calls and stuff like that. And I jumped a creek once, and I went through the handlebars, and the tech vest saved my butt. So tech vests are very light. I think that they're a good accessory. They also help with the cold. If you're running at -30, we do a lot of that. Up in Northern Ontario, and that's the other thing, the difference between Northern Ontario and Southern Ontario is our climate's very dry. So if you dress up for it, you can handle -30. It's not, it doesn't go through your cold. It's just you just got to shield the cold that's coming onto you, and you'll be able to have a good ride. So definitely support any type of vest protection, Kevlar protection on the outside. I actually wear my tech vest on the outside of my snow gear.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I wear mine underneath, and I love it. And that's what I was saying. It looks like my Ghoulies is shopping, and Tech Rider was awesome supporter of this show. If you message Rita, she'll be good to you guys. And not only just us, but Tech Rider supports all of Ontario snowmobilers. They're there. They're out there. They're on the trails. They're actually located on the trail. They're at the shows. They'll do anything for snowmobilers that they ask, and And I can't say enough good things about Tech Rider, but Rita's the contact there, or Steve Brand, the owner. They will get back to you. They will respond. It's amazing. So
no, I've been noticing a lot of guys, a lot of people wear them on the outside. I mean, on the inside, they get too warm, whatever. One of the reasons why I wear it on the outside is like, I've got my little warm cocoon with my Klim suit. But then I put it on the outside, right? So it just floats. It doesn't really keep me warm. It cuts the wind.
Yep.
And you're still mobile. If you get too hot or you stop or whatever, you just peel it off and you only take that off. So
that's a good idea.
The drawback with that is, when you get into somewhere to warm up, if you take it off, don't forget it. I've done that.
That's an expensive loss, right?
Yeah. I mean, in Gaspé, and I called the restaurant owner, and I said, hey, I think I forgot my tech vest on the wall. Would you mail it out to me? And I sent her some money and everything, and she did that. So it was pretty good.
Yeah. Bobby, back in the 440 Exciter days, I was in those days. You just wore a second long John thermal shirt. No tech vest back then. That's true. Corey Brock says yes, and made right here in Ontario. Yeah. So you can't go wrong. And they're made with love, like a good.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about Quebec and stuff like that. I don't know if a lot of the guys on board here have done Gaspésie. A couple of years ago, I started in New Brunswick. New Brunswick is building a phenomenal trail system. They have no speed limits. Their warm-up shacks are all brand new. It's a very new sport, snowmobiling for them. It's probably 10 years old, 12 years old, and they're doing really, really well. They tie into the Quebec system to Gaspésie. So I started in Bathurst, New Brunswick, crossed over to Gaspésie. We went around the peninsula and then back down through Fredericton and back through Bathurst. I did that with my dad, 7 days, 2,100 clicks. But one of the things that I really appreciated was our stop in Murdochville at the Copper Hotel. So I don't know if guys have been there, but Jean Gauthier, who basically owns the hotel and basically owns the whole town of Murdochville, he's got a museum there, and he's showcasing 325 snowmobiles. He's got stuff from, the early days when, in the 60s, when there was like 60 builders of snowmobilers, and, the Ladybug and everything that was out there. He's even got like an original snow bike that was built by Chrysler. I couldn't believe it. He's got all kinds of memorabilia. If you guys are snowmobile aficionados and addicts like myself, basically excellent place to stop in and say hello.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. Do you want to have a look at some of our fan photos that have popped in here, and we'll get to some of your pictures as well?
Yeah, for sure.
Want to do that? Here, I'll just roll the new promotion for that, and we'll get right into it.
Fan photos are brought to you by Fast Track Snowmobile Traction. This season, quit sliding sideways on the ice and losing races to your buddies. A Fast Track stud kit will help you with improved braking and give you the arm-ripping acceleration you crave. I put over 3,000 clicks last season on my Renegade 850, and I'll tell you, these studs exceeded my expectations. Not one broken stud, my idle wheels still look like new, and they hooked up like I was on rails in the twisties, inspiring confidence every ride. Fast Track Top Gun kits are the highest rated stud kit at 4.9 stars with over 230 reviews. The studs are heat treated stainless, so they are strong and they don't rust. The kit is lighter, easier on the track, and has a lifetime warranty against breaking. Each kit comes with a track specific template for complete balance with over double the scratch lines from stock templates. All listeners when purchasing a stud kit can get a free install kit, a $30 value. Visit fasttrack.co, add both products to the cart, and use the coupon code SNOW at the checkout. That's fasttrac.co.
All right, there we go. Here, I'm going to move myself over here, and we'll get right to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So here we got last week we had Rob the Oil Guy on, and he talked about this Ski-Doo Eagle snowmobile. Have you ever seen one of these, Pat?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Twin engine.
And Rob Overholt was kind enough to send in a photo of one he found online,
Nice.
Which is pretty cool. But it does look like an eagle. It's getting blown out in the photo here, but you can actually see there's a little bit of a nose coming out at the front, between the two engines. I love that.
Very cool. I don't know if you saw, and I don't know if I uploaded one of the pictures, but one of my clients owns a blade, built by the Kirkpatrick brothers, right?
Oh, yeah.
The original blades. Yeah, this guy brings this up to Dubreuilville like every year, and everybody. It's a big conversation piece, right? They've modified it. I think they put in Polaris 800 in there because they blew the engine. That was the original M10 suspension, the works. That's where the independent front end came in. Was Brad's front end. Brad is a good friend of mine. He comes up to Dubreuilville a lot, and when they pieced that sled together way back when, it was $20,000. Everybody thought it was like just an incredible price, but in today's pricing, we're right back at that price level.
Yeah, hopefully you've got a picture in there. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, if not, I can send it. We've got some pretty cool shots of it.
That's cool. What year did you say that was?
The blade, I believe, was in the 90s, and I think it was 1996. 96.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The name sounds familiar. I probably recognize it if I seen it. So
they had a hard time reaching OEM status because they needed 500 of them. So.
Oh, I got you. So it's a pretty rare beast that he's got. Nice. So Odie, the sled and car guy, says he went back to trying to clean up the mess today and had a great day until one of the volunteer snowmobiles decided to get bogged down in the swamp. It took us some careful thinking, a lot of brute lifting, and a couple other volunteers to finally get the sled out of the mud. We desperately need cold weather and good dumping of snow to get the trails open. Yeah, it's thank you again, Odie, and all the volunteers. And I don't care if it's just hill and gully like here, but everywhere in Ontario right now, they're seeing the same thing. This is a common occurrence, where you're seeing open swamps and mud holes like this, and it's just downright nasty. Yeah,
I was talking to my brother-in-law today, and he's in charge of basically the grooming in our area. And that's exactly the problem right now. There's a lot of water under the snow. You can't really see it. It's obviously sogging up, some of that ground and whatnot. So it's kind of dangerous. We need that cold weather to come back and get that frost into the ground, because like that picture, that's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. We went early season riding with my son when he was really young, and he put his 550 fan in the swamp. Not this bad, but he was pretty much buried. I had to actually jump in from the side onto the sled and then just basically held her to the bar to get it out. But it had poked through. So what do you think about this season as far as the normality of it? Is this kind of a normal season, and we've been kind of...
I'm going to say we're a little bit late right now with the amount of snow that we usually get. What I'm seeing in Northern Ontario, it's kind of the same just about everywhere. We had a good snowfall, and then we had that little warm spell that kind of like screwed it up. Hopefully it'll come around. I was expecting a massive snow year because Lake Superior was the same temperature as it was in 1995. And that was a banner snow year. Like we had, 518 centimeters in Sault Ste. Marie back in 1995. So There's definitely something going on with Mother Nature, because, some of the variables are there, but we're not getting, the recipe's not turning out the same product. So it's a little bit disconcerting.
It is still warm and the lake's still open. So if we get another... My hope is that with all the cold that we're getting now, that things freeze up and solidify, and then we get another
create precipitation
through like we just had, and when you get that lake effect, because Superior is wide open, so as well as a lot of other lakes. But yeah, it's crazy to think you volunteer your butt off and then that happens to your snowmobile, right? So it happens. Dustin Ingram, he sent me this. He says 4 of my sleds out of 5. They are the 2008 Ski-Doo MXZ 600. He's got a 1989 Yamaha Exciter 570. Here, I'm going to go back to that picture, which is right here. 570. He's got a 86 Polaris 470 Phaser. He's got a 2015 Polaris Pro S 800. And that's my son. So this is the one here. That's my son. And he just turned 18 next to Ski-Doo. And we're planning a trip to the UP, Michigan, 1st of February. It'll be our first trip with the sleds, and hopefully we'll have good snow and a lifetime of memories. Cheers, boys. Kate Ingram, my son, and Dustin Ingram. So there's Dustin standing there beside his 800 Polaris. But yeah, that's great. Oh, you guys are going to have a blast. And I love the memories that my son and I develop on the trails, and meet a lot of friends. And he's ridden with a few of my friends I've ridden at when I was his age and ridden with. So it's, it's kind of funny to see, but it's not like it used to be. He's got one friend that's just got into snowmobiling, and hopefully they'll get out more. But when I was young, you didn't have to look too far. You could throw a stone and hit a buddy that could snowmobile. Had a machine.
It's becoming kind of like an exclusive sport. It is expensive, but the gear is getting way better. So once you buy a product, it's usually pretty good, pretty resilient. It still has its qualities when it comes to getting people together and building memories and having a lot of fun. I think that going out there and snowmobiling with your family. So this year, right now, I'm already planning my trip with my son, who's 23, and my father, who's 81, and we're going to go for a week, right? So we're gonna plan that trip and build some more memories. So snowmobiling does that. And our American friends that have been coming over, for years and years and years, they ran into issues with the COVID rules and stuff like that. So we're getting a lot of messages right now saying, hey, can I cross the border? Do I need anything? So we keep telling them restrictions are out. You're more than welcome. We're back to usual. So, please do book your trip up north and come and see us. Right. So everybody's looking really forward to that for this year.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your tips for people like our 5 from USA that are coming up to see us? What are your tips for first-time border crossers?
Well, I think, making sure you have all your paperwork in order for the sleds and stuff like that. People want to make sure that you're not crossing the border to get rid of them or whatnot. So having, everything going, make sure that you have your trail permits, your OFSC trail permits lined up, whether they be temporary or if you've acquired season passes and whatnot, have those available, because getting onto our trail system, because of the land user permits and everything else that we've negotiated from an OFSC perspective, I think it's important that you have all your paperwork in order. And then obviously make sure that you plan out your trip, call ahead, book your destinations, and have like a good itinerary. I do recommend people download the OFSC interactive guide. It's a great tool. It works offline. Download your maps, know your distances, know your abilities to basically cover that ground. And go out and have fun. I think that's really key. Planning makes for good memories.
Yeah, I was Snow Tracks just had a was it Snow Tracks or was it Snowmobiler Television? It was Snow Tracks, and they were talking about Quebec riding. It was Snow Tracks, and all 3 Lesters were on talking about the best places to go in Quebec. They were saying. And there was a few people, or not few, but there's a few comments. But one comment was, I'm not going back up into Canada because they'd maybe dump all my fluids out of my sled and all the COVID BS, right? And it's like, that's not true. I mean, don't buy into that falsity that the border is going to make you dump all your gasoline or turn you away and oil out of your sled. That's totally not true.
Exactly.
I don't even know why someone would say that.
These rumors get circulated that they're not true, and we've never done anything like that. It's the same thing for us Canadians going to the States to do anything. I ride motorcycles. I ride up to Hatfield and McCoy in Southwest Virginia. They don't make you dump your gas. You know what I mean? Like,
no. No, they want you to have fun in Canada, and like you said, they're probably checking. So make sure you have your ownership, your title, your insurance, your trail permits.
One of the things that people kind of tend to forget is that one of the things in Northern Ontario, we still have, very low cell coverage in certain areas, right? So a lot of people that ride Southern Ontario, they run into trouble. They flip over their cell phone and they think they're going to be, somebody's going to rescue them. It doesn't work like that in Northern Ontario. And on top of that, when you reach Wawa, from Wawa to Thunder Bay, it's actually T-Bay-Tel. And T-Bay-Tel has a partnership with Rogers. So if you're a Bell subscriber, your phone will not work from Wawa to Thunder Bay. A lot of people don't know this, so make sure that you have, another type of device, whether it be like a Garmin or an X-Spot or something like that to help you get out of trouble, to help you, call for help. If ever, stuff happens, right? You're on the trail, somebody has a bad accident, is injured and whatnot. You can't rely on your cell service in Northern Ontario. So I'm telling people, you're coming up north, make sure you're well prepared.
Yeah. And paper maps and that's where your efforts of having the universal signage and making sure everything's signed properly is going to go in leaps and bounds. So if there is any issue, you're covered.
One of the interesting things right now with the Halfway Haven being shut down, so District 13 has set up, I believe it's 3, it could be 4 different locations. In the warm-up shacks themselves, there are satellite phones that are actually bolted to the wall with instructions. So should there happen to have an incident on the trail and you don't have cell service or whatnot, make your way back to the last warm-up shack and there will be a cell phone. So this is cool. Trail between Searchmont and halfway to Wawa, and also halfway to Chapleau. So District 13 has put in these satellite phone services. They're being offered free of charge from a company out of Sault Ste. Marie called Spectrum 2000, and they're doing all this kind of like pro bono. They're big snowmobilers and they're helping out, the industry as a whole. So very, very glad that they were able to put these in. These are expensive units, and they will work for you, throughout your trip.
That is amazing. I can't believe that. Well done.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good stuff out there, and hopefully your listeners are going to share some of that news. This is the word of mouth, and sharing the right information is so important, so critical. It helps everybody be safe.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What are we looking at here? Wawa Snow Riders welcomes you.
Yeah. So this is the where the trail ends for Dubreuilville, and then you head on towards Hawk Junction and Wawa. And the guy with the Hawaiian shirt, these are our friends from the US. They come in March every year, usually around March 17th, and they throw a sausage fest. So we've had, 60 to 100 people. We throw a fire, we throw burgers and sausages and whatnot, and we call it the Sausage Fest. It's been taking a life of its own. These people are clients from Michigan. They come every year. One of the guys is a rep for Stihl, the chainsaws and whatnot. He usually brings a brand new chainsaw, offers it as a raffle, and all the money that we raise goes to the Dubreuilville Snowmobile Club. So, this has been a growing tradition. I usually discount the rooms to make sure that we're full capacity. And this is done late in March. We ride till, mid-April, if a lot of people don't realize this, for us in Northern Ontario. The ice fishing is probably the best, until April 15th, until it closes. And we're usually not trailing anywhere. We're riding right from our driveways or right from the motel. In one of the pictures, I don't know if you saw that, but at the motel, I usually lay out a ribbon of snow from the heated garage onto the trail system. So even though, the sun brings everything back to asphalt, we purposely lay a ribbon of snow from the garage so you don't damage your carbides or your studs or anything like that. So this is the kind of service that you would expect from us in Northern Ontario.
That's excellent. There he is. The Sausage Fest.
There you go, the sausage guy. There you go.
That's great.
Yeah.
So is
awesome.
Is that at a clubhouse, or you just find a
Oh,
random spot?
This is at a warming shack at an intersection. So we brought in the barbecue, and we brought in all the supplies and the tables and everything, and we just set up shop, and any snowmobiler that comes by, they can have free drink, free soda and whatnot, and free food.
Love it.
And this is the Magpie Relay logo. So once you see this, Magpie has a lot of significance. The Magpie Relay, a lot of people get the name wrong, but it's actually a bilingual, right? So relais means the same thing as relay, but in French. So it's Relais Magpie or Magpie Relay. A lot of people say, hey, I was staying at the Relay Magpie Relay. And I said, people haven't understood that a relay is a place where you purchase supplies, you re-energize yourself. That's why you see them in Quebec. They're called relays, and that's what it means. It means a place of rest. A place where you can resupply yourself on your travel to your next destination. So that's why we call it the Relay Magpie. And the Magpie is the Magpie River that is just behind us. So from Dubreuilville, that flows right into Lake Superior. It's a very long, sinuous river full of fish, and people know it for its shortcut to Wawa. So you basically, instead of taking the trail to Dubreuilville, you can actually shortcut on the Magpie River all the way up to Dubreuilville in less than half the time.
Sweet. Yeah, I've heard of it, and I always thought it was an event, the Magpie Relay.
We flag the Magpie River, so it's usually staked with markers, reflective markers, so you can run it at night. It's pretty much in a straight line. And then once the river is dropped, because it's a hydro dam, if it gets too dangerous and we're getting too many mushrooms, we basically shut her down. So if you're seeing on the ITG that it's red, it's because we've decided that it's unsafe. The locals will run it. We just don't recommend that people that aren't familiar with the river to run it. We don't want anybody running into a nice big ice mushroom.
I hear you.
So this is a couple of years ago, between Christmas and New Year's, and I had a group from Windsor, and I took them basically off trail riding. So when I say off trail, we take people on old logging roads that I know that are not active. So it makes for a safe run. You're not going to hit a stump, and you're not going to hit a rock. And the way I do this is I kind of lead, and I run the tree line, and I leave as much snow as possible, for the tourists to basically ride. So we'll do this, and a lot of people have just never experienced running in 2-3 feet of snow, without any interruptions, and just some nice swooping corners and whatnot. So it's a lot of fun. It's something that we love to do. And we have so many logging roads, about 1,000 kilometers of logging roads that you can go out there and just, burn gas. So it's a lot of fun.
Amazing. Look how deep the snow is there too. I love it.
Yeah. If you go through, so this is a Sudbury area. It's basically a piece of trail between Cape Rial and on your way to Timmins. So I was out riding with a few buddies, teaching them some powder techniques and stuff like that. Again, there's a lot of people, different types of sleds don't perform as well in snow. There's some sleds out there that I consider submarines. We kind of get a good laugh. We always get a good discussion. But, learning how to handle your sled, when you go off trail and whatnot in 2-3 feet of snow, it's very critical. How to get out of a situation when you're stuck, so you don't hurt your back, and you're actually using, the techniques properly, making sure that the snow has been, piled down with your legs and whatnot in front of the sled, creating that path, pulling on the loops and hitting the gas properly and stuff like that. So these are all like good little techniques. One of the things that I usually post for people that follow me either on the Magpie Relay site or on my own site is how to tow a sled. So I don't know if you can put that up, Gary, but a lot of people don't know that the best way to tow a sled is to tie it directly to your bumper, and you only tie one loop.
Yeah, and you tie it right tight. I'll just find a picture here somewhere.
To the sled, and it'll be, oh, you just missed it. So
right there,
this is the best way to tie a sled. You can tie a sled like that, super tight, no movement. You make sure that the right ski is on the outside so that when you're seeing oncoming traffic or anything like that, nobody's going to hit that ski. And with that, you can get the buddy that's got the broken down sled to do the ride of shame. They can actually ride their sled, or they can ride on the back with you. It doesn't matter. I prefer them riding on the back so that we can roost them a little bit. But with this type of setup, you can apply the brakes. You don't have to worry about the guy ramming you in the butt, ramming your sled. And we just put a few rags on the bumper there. This was a brand new sled, and my buddy that had this was his wife's, and he didn't want us to put any scratches on the sled. But this is definitely the best way. So this was a technique used with a nylon rope, but you can do that with any type of rope or a nice good strap. And it doesn't matter if that loop is up high, as long as the keel of that ski is touching the snow, it will keep that sled running straight.
That's right.
Super good technique. A lot of people have used this, and it works. This is how we pull out sleds every time.
Excellent. And remove the belt.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, what are you riding? I'm going to go back to this shot here. What are you riding there? That's your sled in the front with the blue wrap on it.
That was a 2018 800 XRS. I love the XRS chassis. I always buy with the adjustable shocks and everything. So right now I'm running a 2022 850 XRS. I did not decal my new one. It's yellow and black, but that's been my sled of choice for the last little while. I've been running revs ever since the chassis came out. I've raced the revs through the Challenge Canada 2700 kilometer race, and we've done a whole bunch of things, right? So very reliable sled.
Absolutely. And is this your heated garage?
Yeah, this is the Magpie Relay Garage. So it's a heated slab on grade. The sleds will melt in about 20 minutes. So we've got a major drain in the middle there. So you basically, when you're taking your sled out, it's just like it came off the showroom floor, right? It's all de-iced and it's ready to go for the next day. So the owner at the Companion in Hearst and myself, we run this type of system where you can put your sled into the garage overnight. I always get the guy that doesn't want to pay the $10. I kind of joke around with them, guys with the 4-stroke. I said, it's $10 for the garage at night and $20 for the hairdryer tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
so it's your choice.
Yeah, and you know what? You thaw out your suspension too. It'd be so nice.
I've got wrenches at the back, so I offer tools and stuff like that. So the guys that want a wrench, they want to make mods, they want to do different things. Certain pieces fall off or whatnot. I usually help them out with that too. So
yeah, I love it. I see that. I was going to ask you about all the tools in the back there, if they're open for the guests to use.
Open. I run on the honor system. I don't expect my fellow snowmobilers to steal from me. I wouldn't steal from them. And we have oil on site. We have belts. We have different things that riders may need.
Excellent. But if you lose the occasional 10 mil, that's to be had.
I have extras.
Yeah, that's right.
because that usually disappears. There's always that bad apple. There's that one bad apple or that absent-minded snowmobiler, I'll call them. It can happen.
Right.
We've had more people give us stuff at the end of the season, say, hey, I don't need this. Hey, I don't want to carry this with me anymore. Can you ship it out to me, or here, you keep it. I've had a guy leave an entire sled, for spare parts. So it's part of the industry. People, I remember one time I pulled in, I was just leaving to get back to Sudbury, and this group from Southern Ontario, they pulled in front of the motel and they were pulling one sled. And the guy happened to have an 850 XRS. And I said, what's the problem? He says, well, I lost the boogie wheel and I lost another piece on my suspension. I said, what year's your sled? Okay, it's the same as mine. I said, go into the garage. There's another one there. Take the pieces you want. The guy had told me he was heading to Hearst. I said, when you get to Hearst, you go to the dealership, you go buy those parts, you bring them back to the companion, and my buddy Gino is going to give them to the next client that's heading to Dubreuilville, and I'll put him back onto my sled. So we did that, but then that way I get a client for life, right? So the guy
exactly
well about us, and that's the service. That's the extension of what we do.
I love that. And I was going to say that I'm glad you brought that up, because that was a question, a thought I had, and then we got sidetracked as normal. Talk a bit about the hospitality of residents of Northern Ontario. I hear a lot of great stories about people giving snowmobilers the shirts off their back, keys to their vehicle to go pick up sleds. They're broken down.
Yeah, that's usually the way it works. You know, people in Northern Ontario are always happy to help people. You know, as long as people aren't taking advantage of them. You know, they're quite astute when it comes to, you know, being abused or not. I could give you a story with the dealer in Cochrane, Remy, who owns the dealership in Cochrane. He goes by the nickname Taco. I had a sled breakdown, and I was trying to get my sled fixed and whatnot, and I had injector issues. So I basically ended up renting a snowmobile in Cochrane from Daniel Higgins, who runs Cochrane Snowmobile Rentals. And I wanted to go up to BTB Canyon with my buddies. So this is the second day of my trip on a 7-day trip, and I'm broken down already. So I left my sled with Ramy, and he said, Pat, you know, I'll see what I can do. I don't have any injectors. So anyways, he left me like that. And I rented a sled from Cochrane Snowmobile Rentals for the week. So I go up to BTB Canyon. I end up in Smooth Rock Falls at the gas station. And as I got back into cell service, my phone started beeping. I started looking, and I had a message from the owner out of the Cochrane Skidoo dealership, Ramy. And it said, hey, Pat, I was able to find some injectors. I fixed your sled. It's ready to go. But it was now 5:15, so his dealership was closed. And I didn't know Ramy personally, so I started texting all the people I knew in Cochrane. You know, does anybody have Ramy's cell phone number? You know, and all of a sudden I get a couple pings and I get his phone number. So now I'm trying to call the guy. He's not answering. So I text him. I said, hey, I'm in Smooth Rocks, and I'm halfway between Cochrane and Kapuskasing, and I'd like to get my own sled back. So he texts me back. He says, here's the combination to the shop. He says, your keys are on the pegboard. Pull your sled out. Make sure that you do this, you know, before a certain time, and just lock the door. I said, that's service. Who the hell would do that? You know, the guy doesn't know me. He just said I look like a respectable guy, respectable, honest guy.
Why did you have him fooled?
Gave me access to all of this. And, you know, we put out a big shout out for him. And then I put this on social media, and so many other people had very similar stories where he took them out of a bind. You know, they've blown up engines and missing parts and stuff like that. And I think that every dealership out in Northern Ontario is out there, you know, bending backwards. You know, there's a lot of people that are going to say, no, I did not get that kind of service and stuff like that. I think it usually has to do with your approach and what you're willing to do and how you go about, because normally people from Northern Ontario will bend over backwards for you, but you got to have respect, right? And that's very, very important. So just sending out that message. You know, I ride motorcycles up north, and we bring up tours, and we've had, you know, the same type of service in Kapuskasing, where people have welded parts for us overnight, you know, just done a whole bunch of different things where they just go out of their way instead of putting you as a number and saying, well, I'll get to you, you know, next week.
That's right.
You're trying to make the best thing happen here. So definitely Northern Ontario, that Northern Ontario hospitality is there.
Yeah. Oh, we have a friend that actually his snowmobile blew up, and he went in Ski-Doo dealer in Cochrane, and the guy pulled a crate down and he said, give us a call at 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'll be ready to go. And they had it PDI'd, whatever. He went in, slapped his credit card down, and they had the financing or whatever all done up, and away he went. You know, he was snowmobiling the next day, and he thought his trip was over.
No,
right. That's and I believe it was a Saturday. It must have been a Saturday. It was a weekend. So that's what made it even better. But yeah, I've heard so many stories about, and some of them are so unbelievable. It's hard to believe they're true, but they are. You know,
I've pulled guys out of the bush at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, like I used to have a restaurant and a bar, and the guy knocks at the door while I'm cleaning up, and he says, you know, we blew up our sled, you know, near White River. You know, can you help us, because we're leaving tomorrow? So we went out there and pulled that thing across the pond and got him loaded, and he was able to go back home and meet their deadlines. So that giving and that partnership with the clients creates a long-lasting returning client. And I think that's what we're all kind of like vying for, is basically, you know, we're in the hospitality business. We're out there. We understand, you know, our clients, and we understand they're there on vacation and they want to make the best of it. So we're just trying to help them out. You know, it may cost you a few bucks, but in the end, you know, your holiday was not ruined. I think that's the way that people need to look at this, and it's a give and take thing.
Absolutely.
So I'm hoping that gets around, and that rumor, you know, of truthness basically makes its way around the snowmobile community. Very
cool. Oh, there's another shot of it the other way. How many sleds can you fit in that heated garage?
That's been our maximum. So it's 1,000 square foot garage, and we fit 24 sleds in there. So
sweet.
Unfortunately, I don't have a second level.
Not yet.
So this is like kind of in front of the motel. We were leaving, I think, early in the morning and stuff like that. So one of the unique things of my motel, and I don't know if there's been clients that are on the call tonight, but basically I have a man cave. So the man cave is the full length of the motel. We have some pool tables in there and some TVs and a bar. So basically you bring your own booze. We have a shuttle that'll run to the bar, to the restaurants, and to the liquor store, so that our clients, once you arrive and you actually store your sled, you don't have to go anywhere. We will shuttle you for free just about everywhere you need to go. So that's all part of the service. When you come up north, you know, a lot of the locations will offer such a service. We have a sauna, a jacuzzi, and we basically try to get people out of their rooms and into the common area so they can meet fellow snowmobilers and swap some stories and talk about their day and share some of that knowledge. So that's the mantra. Share.
Excellent. Oh, absolutely. And then this is showing some decent snowfall here too. How much do you get a year? What's your annual snowfall average like?
I would say that the average snowfall is probably anywhere between 6 and 7 feet of snow.
Wow.
You know, our whole season, you get that base. The base will be built up to 3 feet. So it's not uncommon for us to be riding in March and April, where the only place that there's snow is actually on the trail, because the snow will tend to melt in the bush and stuff like that. But because our trail sets so hard, all you need is some scratchers, and off you go, right, to get the lube and to get that sled just humming.
Yeah. Actually, Mark Boa has a great question. He says, where did the name come from, Magpie Relay?
So Magpie, it's got a little bit of family history. Magpie is the first settlement for Dubreuilville. So some people may have noticed that my name is Dubreuil. I'm third generation Dubreuil. The town of Dubreuilville was founded by my grandfather in 1961, him and his brothers. It was a sawmill town. But before that, in 1954, they had built the little town of Magpie. So again, along the Magpie River, the first Dubreuilville settlement was called Magpie. So in my logo, Magpie is a bird.
It is, yes.
It's also a river. So in the logo, it's a two-part colored logo. The blue is the water, and kind of like the river, and then everything else is the bird and kind of the land. So that's where the logo and representation of calling it the Magpie Relay came all about.
Nice. Yeah, we're going to see that logo again coming up here. So that's very cool. Look at that. That's a dream photo here. The snow is just coming down.
Yeah, it's always interesting. We have a new owner. There's some guys from Sudbury, Rob Bruyette and Andrew Nutt, who are just crazy diehard snowmobilers from Sudbury. And they bought a business in Dubreuilville. They bought the local hardware store and the grocery store and the restaurant. And last year, right after their purchase, I took Andrew on a run. He'd never really been on a trail that just had 2 feet of snowfall, and he was just blown away how difficult it was, because I led for a while, so being the second sled is challenging, but being the first sled is very challenging when you've got some tight corners and some big hills and different things. And he was just blown away by what we were doing. So we rode from Dubreuilville to Hog Junction, and it's a 60-kilometer run, and because of the snow, we basically blew like a tank of gas, and it was so much fun. And that's basically what it looked like. You're basically continually wiping your shield. You're trying to keep that nose up and those revs up high so they get maximum traction, keeping those skis out, and just basically going from side to side, making sure that you make those corners and don't blow anything.
Wow, that's amazing. How many were in that group?
I think there was like 9 of us or something like that. So it's kind of like follow the leader, but it just gets worse and worse as you go, right? So it's actually pretty fun. I did a really cool trip last year. Oh, this is my cousin. He's from Barrie, so he's running one of my sleds, and he blew a corner, and there's like 5-6 feet of snow there. So we actually used an elastic band to get him out of there. So I wasn't familiar with the elastic bands, the elastic bungees. They did relatively well. I was really surprised. I'm the one that was on the sled to pull it out, and on the first tug, I actually fell off the sled because it kind of caught me off surprise. I wasn't expecting that thing, once it hit its limit, that it would kind of like jerk me out of there. Like I was on full throttle, and quite impressed with those elastic bands. So the guys had the sled to sled, and they also had the one with the J hook. So you can actually put on the ski, and then you just lean back on it. And both products work really, really, really good. Definitely back savers, especially in the really, really deep areas.
Yeah, that looks like a Muskoka freerider type shot there in the mountains.
He's kind of like just asking, how the hell do I get out of here now?
That's right.
So
beautiful.
This is on the hydro dam right near Wawa. So a lot of people have taken many pictures here on your way. So it's between Wawa and Halfway Haven. So that's a classic shot, because that section of the river never freezes, and you can run over that dam. It's a kind of a key point of interest for taking shots.
Yeah, nice.
So this is one of the things that we do a lot of, being members of the Snowmobile Club. We had gone out there to help out the groomer. He was having some problems with the hydrostatic drive, and we basically got out there and fixed them up, and then he was off again. So we basically, took the hydrostatic drive apart, put it back together, filled it up with oil, and off he went. So that's a piston bully, and that's on the trail to Hornpain.
Nice. Look at how deep that snow is. Right behind me.
Yep.
Wow. And you're on a base at probably 2 feet. Yeah, there's a good shot of the piston bully.
Piston bullies are amazing units. They're very reliable. One of the reasons why we standardize on that, and we kind of push the OFSC to keep helping us with this, is that a lot of the parts on the piston bullies you can get at Princess Auto. the converter, a lot of the harnesses, and a lot of different things. You can substitute. So even though it's a German built machine, it's got special couplings and different things. They're relatively easy to repair. Very, very reliable machine. One of the things you need to understand is that the clubs in Northern Ontario, most clubs are grooming over 300 kilometers. They're maintaining over 300 kilometers of trail. Like, just so that you appreciate it, our groomer operator leaves Dubreuilville, goes to the Hornpain turnoff and back, and it's a 20-hour ride, right? So the guy's in the for 20 hours. So, not too many people are willing to do stuff like that. It used to be longer when we had, different types of groomer setups. We would actually swap out. We do have like a warm-up shack out there where the groomer guy can go and rest and whatnot, or he can sleep in the cab. It's just not as comfortable. And we do some swap outs. But again, you're seeing us grooming at night because that's what we do best. Groom at night, making sure that trail is set perfectly. So if you're the early bird on that trail, you're going to get that ribbon all the way to Hornpain.
Love it. And you know what, when you're talking in your area where people are, reaching some good speed on straight sections of trail, grooming at night is the sensible thing to do for safety, because you can see the groomer from miles away.
Yes.
Where in the daylight, you're not going to know. You may come up on it pretty fast, and that won't be very good.
And our trails are usually groomed, a drag and a half or 2 drags wide. So the drag is usually 9 to 10 feet, right? So you'll have like a 15-foot trail, right? Your standard, the OFSC standard, is a 99-foot trail. That's the minimum. So, if you're going to meet a groomer, there's usually a lot of space beside it. If you're going to meet another sled, there's usually a lot of space beside it, as long as you're holding and you're respecting the rules and you're hugging your side, right? You can't be crossing over, even though you're at high speeds. If you're crossing over and you're at high speeds, you're not in control of your sled. True,
very true. And here you look like you're having some fun in the deep.
That's the same shot from the other side there. That's when he missed the corner and he kind of buried the sled. So
nice.
You can see in front of that sled, we started packing the snow, getting it ready. So getting things ready to pull him out.
Yeah. That'll be Wisco sled heads right there when he comes up.
Yeah. This is the back side of the motel. So all our rooms are, you can park your sled in front of your room. So when you're saddling back up and stuff like that, we make it easy. Usually the guys will take their sled out of the garage and then they put them in front of their rooms, and then they put all their gear on, and then they get ready to go.
Nice. Does the Magpie have a meal plan? Do you have no?
I don't have a meal plan. We basically, shuttle the guys to the restaurants. We do have kitchenettes available. So guys that want to ride for multiple days and they want to fend for themselves. So we have some units that have a full kitchen, and I also have, I just put it in this year, a full 5-piece kitchen, so people could stay for weeks on end and then basically fend for themselves.
Nice. That was asked. Corey asked that in the chat if there was a meal plan there. So
that's the front. You get a little piece of the shuttle there. I don't know if you can see that. So we're running.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, a little van. Oh, it's behind my head.
Yes.
There we go. It's right there.
Yep.
Is the Magpie shuttle. That's excellent. It doesn't look like that oval place. What year was your
the motel was built in 1983. I sold it in 2000, and then I bought it back in 2014. So
seriously, you missed it that much?
No, the previous owner didn't have a good run, and I basically went back in and I retrofitted, set it up for PowerSports. So we've got racks in the rooms for your helmets, place to hang your wet clothes right over the heater, ceramic at the entrance, and then mini fridges and stuff like that. So and we also have a drop down Murphy bed in every room. So you've got your standard queen, And if you're riding with two people, someone that you're not sleeping with, you want to have on their separate beds. We have a drop down Murphy, and the Murphy beds are custom made, so they're actually extra long. A lot of my clients are American tourists, and Americans tend to be taller than us French Canadians. We're usually physically challenged with our height. So we've got the Murphy beds are actually the same length as a queen bed. So that gives you a lot of space in the room for gear and stuff like that, and everybody can be comfortable in their own bed. And we've got that fridge where if you call us ahead of time, if you've booked rooms with us, we will fill that fridge with your favorite beverage so that when you arrive, it's nice and chilled.
Nice. Mike Goolies wants to know, can you take your sled from there to eat?
Yes.
So it's accessible by trails? The
municipality encourages people to use their snowmobiles all the way in town, so you can ride your sled to the restaurant. You can ride your sled to my gas station. My gas station's open 24/7. It's fully automated, so all you need is plastic, debit card, or credit card, and it's basically being monitored for safety by people in Toronto 24/7. So when you show up, you put your card in, choose the type of fuel you want, premium or regular, and fill up, and you're on your way.
Oh, that's cool. Greg Kelly wants you to know, he says, tell Pat I lost money at the pool table last time at your place.
You must have been betting, because my tables are free.
Yeah, that's right. You're not involved in any of that.
No,
unsanctioned betting.
For sure.
How do people get a hold of you? Have you got a website that people can search?
So
if they
have magpierelay.ca, and that'll be the website for the motel. You can find me on social media under Pat Dubreuil or Magpie Relay. I'll do Messenger. I give out my personal info if people want to call me and whatnot. I like helping people plan their trips. So one of the things that I do is I hand out kind of a PDF format if you're going to be doing the big loop, basically all the way around, Cochrane, Kapuskasing, Smooth Rock, Hirsch, Hornpain, Dubreuilville, through halfway, through Sault Ste. Marie, through Elliott Lake, and then back around to Sudbury and whatnot. And I will make recommendations of places where to stay. I will give you the kilometers, and I'll give you phone numbers and stuff like that so that you can actually book your trip. So I do that.
Nice.
Charge, as long as people come through my place, that's all free.
That's great. Love that. That's, again, hospitality 101. And what I'll do is I'll post your contact info in the description of the video when after the show ends. I'll make sure I put that in there. Website, phone number, all that. So just click the little down arrow below the video when you're watching. It'll expand the description, and you'll see it there. And I'll also pin it as a first comment as well on there. So definitely give Pat Dubreuil some business if you're up that way, and sounds like he'll set you straight as far as where you want to go.
Yeah, it's always about making the trip enjoyable. If you guys have a good time, you'll come back. I remember back in the 90s when we first started and UFSC started, you almost needed a guide to ride, some of our trails, because you could get lost and different things. And we were with the philosophy, if we guide a few people the first time, all of a sudden they come back with their friends, and they're comfortable enough to guide their friends, and so on and so on. And that's how, it's kind of like a snowball effect where it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And, a lot of our American tourists have traveled up north. Some of them, I think they actually know the trail system better than we do. It's quite interesting. Some of these people are used they know the back routes to get, through shortcuts and stuff like that. I'm always amazed. I learn from them just as much as I learn from the locals. So it's always interesting.
No bullshit, just arrived. He says, I'm 83 minutes late. Crap. Oh. Hey, Throwing Spark says, Pat, are you adopting? Asking for a friend.
Nice.
I've got the best fans, man. They're awesome. that never cease to surprise me with their comments. Yeah. So this actually, if you can see it in the background, there's the map showing a big loop.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the loops. It's part of a bigger picture. That's myself and my dad there in the picture. He's a big avid snowmobiler. He runs a 4-stroke Ace and still going strong. He's been snowmobiling forever. You know, there's a lot of tradition with snowmobiling in our neck of the woods. A lot of people don't realize this, but our club is, I don't know, 40 years old, getting close. It's in the high 40s. And snowmobiling between Hearst and Dubreuilville is a long tradition. The people used to ride their snowmobiles on the train track. So they used to go from Dubreuilville to Hearst via Oba on the train track, because back in the day, the skis would actually fit between the rails. The snowmobiles weren't as wide. So the people from Dubreuilville would ride to Hearst to go to their carnival. They would party all weekend, and then they would put the snowmobiles back onto the train and come back and disembark in Dubreuilville, because a lot of them weren't fit to ride. And then the following weekend, the people from Hearst would ride their sleds to Dubreuilville, party all weekend, put their sleds back on the train, and go back in the other direction. So this is how the partnership between our communities, our francophone communities, you know, goes way back to the 60s. It's been a long going tradition. It's unfortunate that we can no longer put the snowmobiles onto the train. A lot of our American clients used to do that. They used to load up in Sault Ste. Marie, put their snowmobiles on the train. They would disembark either in Hawk Junction or in Dubreuilville, and then make their way all the way up to Hearst, and then they would repeat the process coming back. This was back in the 90s.
Why do you think the Hearst train's the popular one, is it not?
Yeah. So
it was like, why do you think that didn't?
Well,
continue?
Basically, the government cut out the subsidies for the trains. So our trains in Northern Ontario need to be subsidized to be able to operate. So government stopped to subsidize the Algoma train, and that train basically goes from Sault Ste. Marie to Hearst. It was the only train that actually crossed the CP and the CN in all of Canada. It's the only rail that actually cuts both areas. They've recently taken out the diamond, so it doesn't look like it's ever going to be reinstated to that effect.
Oh, wow, that's too bad.
You know, a lot of people that have camps along that way can no longer access their camps. There's 300 and some camps along the way that used to leverage, you know, the rail and whatnot, and we lost all of that. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's too bad. Are you related to the restaurant owner on Main Street in Dubreuilville? There's a lot of history coming up there, Pat.
There's a lot of history, right? So if he's talking the one on the Main Street, I used to own it. It was called Pat's Resto. But the one that's existing now, I do not own, and I'm not related to the owner. I've got one in the works right now, so we're planning a new restaurant that will likely be closer to the Magpie. You know, going to try to do it well. So,
yeah, that's neat. And is this your father here?
Yeah, this is my dad. So this is his. So we have, I don't know how many pictures of this. He always does this in all his pictures, and he always, you know, says, "Thank the Lord for snowmobiling." He says this every time I take a picture. You know, he loves snowmobiling, and he's just, you know, just a very joyful character when it comes to snowmobiling. So this is his way of showing, you know, his appreciation for the sport.
That's cool. And he's actually a permit collector. I see.
Oh yeah, he likes his permits until he gets a new sled, right? So he usually runs 3-4 years there. So right now on that one, he's about to get a change.
Yeah, I put my permits on the because I use the shield saver, and I peel them off and I stick them on my work ladders at the end at the end of the season. So I've got a pretty good collection starting, that's for sure.
Yep.
And that's it. That's the pictures you sent in. That's pretty awesome.
Awesome. Well, it's good.
Here, just let me
Guess
get
you put some of those on your website or something. People can take a look at them.
Oh, well, they'll be forever in eternity on MUDBRATS, SnowBrats YouTube here.
Okay. Anyways, if people want to follow me on social media and stuff like that, we post a lot of really neat things, some lessons, some teachings, and we also make a lot of comments about some of the trail conditions in Northern Ontario. A lot of people may know the groomer guy. The groomer guy.
Yes.
Born and raised in Northern Ontario, and he's still very active with the club, and he posts a lot of stuff about trail conditions and whatnot. So do follow the groomer guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And are you friends with him, or
Yeah.
are you?
Luke used to work for me, so he basically came up with the groomer guy concept when he was a manager for me back in the 90s. How this whole thing started up was that back then we didn't have blogs or podcasts like we're doing. We used to have forums. A lot of people may not remember this, but we used to go and chat on forums. And because he was my manager and wasn't busy all the time, I had given him the task of going on Ontario sled conditions, and he was on there, and he came up with this hook, groomer guy, because I don't know if you remember the Jim Carrey cable guy.
Yeah, that's right.
So he said, "Hey, I'm going to call myself groomer guy." So we both kind of like went on there and we're posting in Ontario sled forums under the groomer guy, and that was the birth of it, right? So he was working for me, and we were grooming trails and taking care of stuff like that. And then we said, "Hey, would you like to take up grooming? We need an operator. We'll train you." And he took it up, and then he just ran with it, and he became kind of this phenomenal personality. And it actually attracted a lot of people to Dubreuilville. It was mind blowing, the number of people that came to Dubreuilville. They'd show up at the motel, check into the room, and then they'd say, "Where's the groomer guy? How do I get a hold of the groomer guy? Can I go get my picture taken with the groomer guy in front of his Quickie Mart?" And I said, "Yeah, he's right down the street." And some people would show up, and then I'd call Luke and I'd say, "Okay, this guy's here, wants to talk to you. You want to come and chat with him in the man cave?" And boom, Luke would show up and chat up a discussion with some of these people that follow him. There you go. Thanks for putting up the website.
Yeah, I did. I popped that up there for you. Yeah, and what an imposter. He wasn't even a groomer guy when he started. I love it.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. It's something that's been going on for almost 30 years now. We started that in I believe 1996. So it's been going on for a while, and he's won some numerous awards at the USSC and the CSRA, for snowmobile promotion and whatnot. And I think it brought a fresh perspective to the riders who sometimes forget about these lonely heroes that are making these white ribbon trails for us. We owe them so much credit. A lot of the trails in Northern Ontario, in the Cochrane area, that whole corridor, District 15, are volunteers, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people forget about that. Not everybody's paid. So they're putting in the long hours. They're going out there, retrieving the units when they break down, fixing them and whatnot, taking care of the trails in the off season. We've had the guys from, Slednex. The guys are up there talking, putting up signage and doing different things. We just need more of that from the snowmobile community, to basically give and donate time and effort and energy, so that we can maintain this. Like most of the clubs in Northern Ontario, I can tell you, they're being run by 4 or 5 people. You've got myself, my brother-in-law, a few of the operators, and it's quite taxing. It's quite taxing.
Yeah, and Throwing Spark says "and" on the graveyard shift.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like they're working full-time jobs as it is, or whatever they have going on. And
we have one of our operators, he works at the local mine, and when he's on his 7 days off, he's on the groomer. So this guy's working like 7 days a week, nonstop. and it's, if we didn't have these guys, we would not have the trail system. It's impossible, right?
Very insane, really, when you think of it, right?
Yep.
So, and that's why it's important for the younger generation to get involved in things like this as well.
Definitely.
So, hey, listen, I won't keep you any longer tonight. I mean, this was an excellent episode. If anyone has any questions, by all means, throw them up in the chat, and make sure you follow Pat Dubreuil on social media, and hit the website and send him an email. He will respond. And again,
as some guys, Mark making a comment about Jones snow report. You know, Gord Jones out of Jones PowerSports out of Wawa. He's a Polaris dealership. Does a phenomenal job of promoting the backcountry riding and snowmobiling. You know, he gives out a snow report every day. So there's a lot of people out there in Northern Ontario kind of catering, you know, to you folks, letting you know what's happening and what's going on. You know, there was this lady out of the Northern Lights Hotel. If some people have been on here for a while, Maureen Hutchison, and she had put together this cardboard lady. She's actually in some of my pictures, and her name is Chica, the snow goddess. And you'll notice that Chica is in a bikini, and so basically Chica has her hand out. And the way that Maureen was doing this, you know, this is in the early days in the 90s, where we could post a couple pictures on the internet. It wasn't as interactive as it is today. And she would stack up cases of beer, and she'd show how much snow there was. So people knew 3 cases of beer meant there was 3 feet of snow up in Wawa. And then they would, you know, hit Wawa as a destination. So Chica, the snow goddess, has now moved to the Magpie Relay. She's right beside my garage. We use her as a prop. A lot of guys take pictures with her.
That's cool. I love it.
It's all part of the lore of, you know, we have fun when we're snowmobiling. We have that camaraderie and, you know, building up the sport and making sure people enjoy the sport for many years to come.
Oh, for sure. That's awesome. I love that. Oh, for sure. So yeah, listen, I will let you go. Thank you everybody for joining in tonight. I'm going to roll the credits here. If you're watching the replay, there's 2 more videos here that I think you'll like, but check down in the comments, check in the description. I'll put in some connection links for Pat here. And thank you again for your time tonight. I really appreciate it. Good show. Mike Gooley says, see ya. Thank you, Pat. And Gary Bobbio says, thanks for a great show. Yes, sir. Shoot my shot, says. So yeah, hope to see you soon, Denon says to you, Pat. So yeah,
an awesome snowmobile season.
You know what? I'm gonna have to lengthen my bucket list now, because I've just added Dubreuilville to it and the Magpie Relay. So here we go. Let's go 2023. 2023, I can ride on my birthday by the sound of it.
It's always good. I'm always there. I'm usually the last guy on the trail in April. So
that's awesome. Yeah, the dub is the number 1 for me, is what Denon says. So that's really cool. No shortage of fan. Let's go, Gary. I'm in. I don't think Corey would be too hard to convince either. So we'll be in touch for sure.
All right.
Anyway, thanks, Pat.
All right, guys.
It's a journey.